Do you think that President Clinton should be condemned for the rest of his life based on a mistake that he made in his life?
Republicans have held South Carolina's 1st district for more than 30 years, but that could change tomorrow as former Governor Mark Sanford, remember him, and Democrat Elizabeth Colbert Busch face off in a special election that polls show to be a virtual tie. The Fix's Aaron Blake joins us to discuss this very special election. Okay, so Sanford's the guy, he was governor, the Appalachian Trail, the Argentine Mistress. He's now making this comeback. Colbert Busch, of course, the sister of the Comedy Central host. Correct me if I'm wrong. This isn't something that's going to tell us a lot about the state of national politics,
You
right?
will not see a race like this in all of the 2014 congressional elections. You know, a former governor running for Congress is totally unusual. Usually these guys might run for Senate or something like that. But the fact that you've got a guy with statewide name recognition, what's considered a potential presidential candidate, running for his old congressional seat is totally unusual. Obviously, a celebrity sister on the other side. This is just a very, very unusual race, and for that reason, I think it's very hard to draw any broad conclusions about what it means for the national environment.
He was considered a presidential hopeful?
He was.
How the mighty have fallen.
He was a, you know, he's got a very conservative record. He was a favorite of fiscal conservatives, the Club for Growth community, people like that. Actually, I think in today's Republican Party especially, he would fit in very well with the crop of people like Ted Cruz, Marco Rubio, Rand Paul. But once that scandal hit, of course, that all disappeared. But this was a guy we were talking about as a potential presidential candidate at one point.
And yet now, your fellow Fix bloggers were suggesting this morning that a loss for Democrats might actually be better. Sanford would be such poison in Washington should he win for the GOP.
I think the Republican Party really needs to move past this era of having problems with female voters. This is a big problem with them. You know, we talk about the problem with Latino voters. It's actually a problem with women voters too. The contraception debate was harmful for them. They'd rather not probably have a guy like this in Washington with his issues, especially considering that in the 2014 election, everyone expects this seat to go Republican. So even if Democrats win it in the near term, it's expected to go back. If Mark Sanford wins this race, he's going to be in that seat for a long time, barring some kind of scandal.
This isn't going to be a real changeover for Democrats. If they win the seat, they get it for just 19 months. So why do we care so much about this?
Well, we care because it's the only election
it's all
this
we have
month.
To watch.
It's the only election that we've had for a number of months here. You know, 2013, obviously, we have a couple of governor's races in New Jersey and Virginia. We've got a special election for Massachusetts Senate. But besides that, this is the only race, and it might be the most competitive race that we have. So, of course, everybody wants to look at it and see, what does this say about the national environment? What does this say about politics right now? The temptation is out there. I don't think that we should go too far with that.
It tells us maybe more about these special elections, and there's a history of these strange things happening in these off-moment elections.
It's almost more normal for there to be a surprise winner in these races than not. Obviously, the race for Anthony Weiner's seat, a very Democratic seat in New York City, was won by a Republican. There were very Democratic seats won by Republicans in Hawaii and New Orleans in recent years. A lot of these seats wound up going back to the party that they were supposed to or normally would go to almost the next election after that.
And why are there these surprise results? Because different people turn out to the polls, or just special novel cases?
Special elections have much, much lower turnout. There's much more of a premium on turning out the base of your party, the most partisan people, the most likely to vote. And just because the turnout is so low, it's so tough to poll these races, and there's so many different factors that you just really don't know what's going to happen. A much smaller group of people can give you a surprise result as compared to a general election.
Whoever comes out of South Carolina's first, it seems like they will not be very popular in Washington. Either it's a Republican that no one wants to touch, or it's a Democrat who almost everyone believes will spend less than 2 years in D.C.
Yeah, I mean, these people are going to be last in seniority in Washington. If Elizabeth Colbert Busch comes to Washington, I don't think anybody has any illusions that she'd be here for a terribly long time. In a lot of cases, you've seen the National Party just simply not spend money on trying to get these people reelected once they're in Congress. So I think that, you know, it's really kind of much ado about nothing. Although if Sanford does win, he's probably going to be in Congress for a while, and that might be a headache for national Republicans.
Okay. We'll look for the results tomorrow. Aaron, thanks a lot.
Should be fun.